So I have a special edition video to show you guys. This is my very first time on single track.
A bit nervous on this single track. I heard it was tough, so first single track.
And I believe I was riding for about 5 or 6 months at the time. Of course, I never posted it back then because I was slightly embarrassed on how slow and bad I was. But this is a golden moment for me, because very often people do not have their very first ride recorded. I'm lucky enough to have one of my very first rides recorded ever, and that was on the DRZ 400.
A drop or a climb, I haven't. It looks intimidating going down it. It's just me practicing. I think climbing it is not so bad. Yeah, it's here on the left.
And unfortunately the KLX 250, but I forgot my GoPro mount, so I got a very small glimpse of it.
Finally put on my boots. Man, it's just freaking hard as shit to put on. And it just sucks that I left my GoPro. Yeah, I'm probably gonna check out 312, 314. A lot of them are closed like this. Pretty interesting. There's another one back there too. All right, guys. So they said the first like 3 miles is you know, just relaxed riding.
Now, don't you guys wish you ever had your first time out on a dirt bike, or perhaps even your very first single track? Till this day, I still remember how terrified I was of this single track. Many of you guys who have followed me from the beginning, which a huge thank you by the way to the tiny fans I have, know I never had any kind of two-wheel experience, not even mountain bikes. Anyhow, 6 months into the future, I met this mountain life and cool light Colorado, and we have been riding ever since. But lucky for me, they took me on a pretty tough single track with very little experience, and of course, my very first time on single track.
Alright. Here goes nothing, so this is single track. It's definitely tight. Not something I'm used to. So I'm gonna take it easy, you know.
Well, lucky for me, I had the TE 250i. So yes, this was a brand new bike at the time, and hence I am a new rider with a powerful 2-stroke machine. So I was still pretty nervous with the throttle response. Now I figured this would be a perfect time to talk about the TE 250i or any TPI bikes in general. Because here it is, a video of me on single track for the first time ever. Now, there is 2 mappings on the TE 250i, and of course the KTM. There's aggressive and a little bit less aggressive, and at the time I was a bit scared to use the more aggressive setting, so I had it more mellowed out.
That's fucking steep. Oh shit.
This worked out perfect for me because it was virtually impossible for me to whiskey throttle if I did accidentally blip the throttle. It was incredibly tame for my taste, and fortunately, I was never flown into a tree by this powerful machine.
This trail is pretty much just a straight climb up. And again, guys, this is my very first single track. Yeah, I'm good. It's my hands. Oh yeah. I think it's because I'm so tensed up. I'm not used to this kind of difficulty.
After a little while. while, it should go. Once you relax, you should be okay.
Yeah.
That's honestly of the 3 miles we did, that's about the hardest part right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that should be fine. I'm just, my nerves are kind of worked up because this is technically like my first single track. That first part,
Yeah, no rush.
man, I feel like going back and doing it again because I felt like I should have done that.
Yeah.
Pick a line and
Yeah.
run it.
Yeah, I mean, it's all first and second, like on those really tight.
Even on this trail called Rainbow Trail, I managed to ride the entire single track without getting seriously hurt or even blipping the throttle into a volcano. So yes, I am so happy I made this move to buy the TPI bike, because without the TPI bike I probably would have never gotten into a two-stroke. Now don't get me wrong, they are still very powerful and still demands respect, but the newer model TPI bikes are much more linear and forgiving once in the correct mapping versus the carbureted ones. Of course, once you change your mapping, it will kick like a traditional two-stroke, which I ended up doing at the dealership for $55. Now let's talk about Rainbow Trail. This trail starts off east of the Great Sand Dunes, then goes all the way south of Marshall Pass. The trail can be challenging in some sections, but also great for a beginner dirt bike rider in certain areas who are looking for a challenge with improvement, because in all honesty, single track is all about balance and getting used to standing up. The good part about Rainbow Trail is it throws everything at you. You start off with some rocks and then smooths out for a bit into a large hill climb, but with minimal rocks. After some time it then flattens out and throws in some loose rocks into the mix. But it is not done here yet. Eventually exposure is thrown into the mix, but only so slightly so you get a small glimpse of it. So here I am on my very first single track, and although it does not look tough on camera, it was for sure a tough trail for a first time ride. What made this trail difficult was primarily the loose rocks and the balance required to actually stay on the trail. It was my essentially first time getting used to roots, ruts, and rocks that I had to take, and there was not really a way around them. It is pretty crazy because I remember this being an extremely bumpy ride and was not sure if I'd like this kind of riding.
So I took a little break here. So this is my first single track. I know I already mentioned it before, but we're talking about suspensions, how they have it like revalved and all that stuff. Thinking maybe I should do the same. So pretty much this single track is like really rocky. It sure is beautiful here. Look at the view of the mountains though. So this is just straight downhill. This is a really good beginner's single track. Like, it's not easy. Of course, no single track is. But it's not scary difficult too.
That is right, I doubted if I liked doing single track at all. You see, the human body is very unique because over time you get used to those bumps and hits and no longer affects you the way it used to when you first experienced them. It is kind of like driving a Jeep off-road. On off-camber spots, you tend to be unsure of the situation because, well, you are not used to that lean angle. The more times you do it, the more resistance you build to it and become immune to that feeling. That is the best way I can describe my single track riding now on rocky terrain. Granted, I still have tons to learn.
So for the most part, this part right here is definitely fairly easy.
Anyhow guys, hopefully you liked this video. This is my very first time on single track and I was around 6 to maybe 5 months in of riding time. Anyhow, go ahead and subscribe, hit that bell button so you guys can see me ride around Colorado, Utah, Arizona, and all the neighboring states, and I'll catch you guys on my next video.